Assalamu alaikum. So in this video I want to talk about fluency. What is fluency? Fluency is a word that's commonly used when we're talking about language and language learning. However, it's a bit vague in its meaning, especially these days. It's kind of overused. So if someone were to say like, are you fluent? Now, what does this mean? We've got different types of fluency. We've got different domains of fluency. We've got different things that you can be fluent in terms of different aspects of the language. And the main thing that we kind of struggle with this word is that when you ask someone if they're fluent, fluency means different things to different people. So if one person believes that fluency is like, high level, like up here, they ask someone else, are you fluent? This person regards fluency as being kind of like midway-ish here. If this second person says, yes, I'm fluent, the first person is going to think that he's up here, because that's his understanding of fluency. So it's kind of vague. Fluency in general, we mean, can you speak easily without stumbling over your words, effortlessly. I can't even speak fluent English. This is kind of what we mean when we say fluent. So we can have different types of fluency. There's functionally fluent. There's like basic fluency. There's like native like fluency. So I think the most common one for people is that they get to like a functional fluency, and some get to like a basic fluency, and very little get to a native like fluency. And it's not impossible, it's doable, it's just it's very, very difficult. There are people that have done it with languages that are far removed from English, like Arabic and Japanese and Chinese and these kind of languages that are like nothing like English. It's being done, and people have got to like near native fluency. But the most common one that we get to really is either functional fluency or basic fluency. Functional fluency is like, you can function in a country that speaks that language, basically. And your sentences might be a bit broken. You won't sound natural. You'll kind of use like the wrong words, but they'll get what you mean. You can function though. They'll get the message. If you need to get something from the shop, they'll understand what you're saying. You need to get a taxi or whatever, they're going to understand you. Basic fluency is like you have a much easier time speaking and understanding, and it's kind of less of a panic situation when you're getting spoken to and your brain's racing. But you're limited in terms of like what you can speak about and the depth that you can speak about it. So your like adjectives, the way you describe stuff might be quite simple and not like exactly what you want to say, but you can't say that, so you kind of go for like the closest thing. But you can still keep like a full-blown conversation with no kind of like awkward pauses, and you'd have to think about what you say too much, but it's not, there's still limitations, which then brings you on to a native like fluency where there's no limitations. You in your native language can express yourself. You're not bound by the language. So anything that's like within you, you can normally kind of get out. Even if it's kind of complicated and it's like kind of deep, you can still kind of get there. You don't think about like how you structure your sentence. You don't really think about kind of what word fits this setting. It's just kind of natural to you. And a native level of fluency is ridiculously hard to achieve. You've got to think that a native speaker has grown up with this language from a child, gone through like school. There's going to be words that, like, for example, I don't know, nucleus, I think, in like science. Why would you ever know that word? Like, why would I ever know that word if I didn't go to school? So it's like it's very, very difficult. And it's also it's partly built on culture as well. There's a lot of cultural references that happen within language. So to get to this level would take massive amounts of exposure to the language, really. And it also depends kind of if that's your goal or not. Which then brings me on to the next kind of subject of domains of language, as in kind of like subjects of language. You, obviously as Muslims, we learn the language for the religion. We want to understand the Quran and the Sunnah, the speech of the scholars and whatnot. Just to be able to function as a Muslim, basically, understand what's happening in the prayer and what the Imam's saying, the khutbah and whatnot. So, if you're one of these people that you just kind of know like religious vocabulary, can you say you're fluent? I mean, you're fluent in like the domain of religion, but if I were to talk to you about sports, would you be able to tell me? Or, politics? There's different like domains, and I would always advise anyone that's going to learn the Arabic language to approach it as a language. Don't approach it as an academic subject like the rest of the like sciences of the religion, because it's not learnt like them. You can't just sit in like one lesson once a week and then do nothing through the week and then quickly revise what you did before the next lesson comes around. If you do that, I don't even know if you'd reach functional fluency. Or if you did, it'd probably take you about 10 years. You have to treat it like a language. It's not an academic subject. Language is a living, breathing thing as well. You have to like immerse yourself in it. When it comes to grammar and whatnot, yeah, that is more academic and it can be studied like that. So I'm not taking that away. And grammar is important as well. I'm not taking that away either. If you to make good progress in the language, you need to treat it like a language. Which then brings me on to the next point, which is there's fluency in the different aspects of language. The asl of language, the origin of language, is that it's speaking and listening. But just because you're fluent at speaking doesn't mean you're fluent at reading, for example, or vice versa as well. Us in the West, we tend to be reading dominant. We tend to be strong at reading, or strongest at reading, and worst at speaking. So, if you want to make like good progress, you have to spend a lot of time listening and listening and listening. And reading is good as well. I'm not saying reading is not good. Reading is probably one of our best tools, to be honest, to use. But if you don't do the listening, you're gonna improve loads at your reading. You're gonna be able to understand books. Your writing will probably be alright as well. Because in my experience, you just kind of mimic what you read. And writing is a lot easier because if you get to some kind of level in Arabic, you know certain words have certain root letters. And you can write like a paragraph and give the impression that you are better at Arabic than you actually are. Because you can write it, but you might not actually know how to say it. People who know. But if you do this, your listening and your speaking skills are going to lag behind massively. And that's the origin of language. The origin is that you understand what you hear and then you speak. So people, again, that are studying Arabic like it's an academic subject and are just reading whatever program they're doing in that lesson, and then not doing anything until the next lesson, quickly reading over it again, and then starting the next lesson, you're not going to succeed like that. You need to be listening throughout the week, and preferably listening to stuff that you're reading as well, because that's going to help the vocab stick, and you're going to get a lot more comprehensible input. Which this kind of stuff I'm going to go on to more as well in like later videos. Okay, So I've covered the majority of stuff I wanted to speak about. There is one more thing, and that is be careful of people who tell you that they're fluent as well. Like, the majority of people are not, well, without a doubt, the majority of people are not like native, like fluent, without a doubt, because it's incredibly hard to reach that level. So don't be fooled by people basically saying that they're like, like fluent. Because a lot of people, when they say fluent, they're going to mean like you can speak Arabic as well as you can speak English if you're an English speaker. Like for me, for example, I cannot speak Arabic to the level that I can speak English. Nowhere near. Inshallah, I'd love to reach that level, and it's like a life goal of mine. To be as close to native level as possible. But the reality is that it's extremely difficult, and it takes a lot of dedication, a lot of time. But if I were to go to an Arabic speaking country, I can get by. Like I speak to Arabs, like here where I live, like there is some Arabs, and I can speak to them. They understand me fine. Like I'm not like as fluent as I like to be when I'm speaking. Like sometimes I'll say things wrong. Sometimes I can't say exactly what I want to say. But this is like the level that like a lot of people get to, and to break through to get to the upper level, this is the difficult bit now. For me anyway, that's what I think for me. You seem to be at this level, you kind of go, and then you kind of plateau here, and it's like you're trying to break through to like the like the really advanced levels of the language, and like having freedom in the language, not being kind of restrained by it, you know. So yeah, I hope all that helped. If you want to see any kind of, if you want to see any more videos about any kind of different topics, then please let me know. And I do offer one-to-one Arabic lessons and Arabic group lessons as well. So if you're interested, I would love to help you. I've got a lot of experience, obviously, like learning online. I've never, I didn't learn in Egypt or Saudi or anywhere else. I learned Arabic here in the UK. So, yeah, I'd love to help as many people as possible. You know, get to as high a level possible as they can, inshallah. So that's it for today, and I will see you in the next one, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.